Money and family, it is a constant issue in a lot of marriages, and this is the email we're talking about today. Let's take a look at what someone wrote in. My husband secretly lent $40,000 to his brother without telling me. His brother has always been irresponsible with money, and apparently my husband has been helping him out for months while I thought we were being careful with our budget. When I confronted him, he said it was family business and that I was making it about control. I feel betrayed because this is our money, not just his. How do I tell them this isn't about hating his brother, but about being treated like an actual partner in our marriage? Great question, and it's got a lot of layers to it. Uh, Look, it really depends on how the money is typically made and used in the relationship. This is not a clear-cut answer. A lot of people, a lot of therapists even, if you were to take this issue with them, would say, she's absolutely right. It's your money together. You have to make the decisions together. It's not so simple, though. It really isn't. If he is the main breadwinner and there's a pattern of you overspending in the relationship, there might be years of resentment built up here where he feels like all I do is earn, come home, give you my whole paycheck, which I've heard many people do, especially husbands. I give you my whole paycheck, right? And if my family needs help once in a while, I don't spend any money on myself. And so I'm going to do it, right? It's a real possibility that that could be happening. The other issue could be that, he's the opposite, right? Where he's spending a lot and he's keeping you in the dark. Maybe he has secret accounts. You said you just found out about it. How did you find out? Does that mean you have no access to bank accounts? No access, there's no transparency in what the finances are like. That's a problem too. If it and how you found out matters. Did you accidentally overhear it, or did you get access to the bank account for some other reason? It's very layered and complex. Let's talk generalities, though. Let's talk about what a healthy financial relationship looks like in a couple. Because it's not always centered around transparency. It's not always centered around equality. If I make all the money and I pay all the bills, and you need a certain amount of money to live, and you're happy, right? Let's say I'm doing really well. I'm making crazy money, $100,000 a month, right? Just easy math to work with. And I say, here's your allowance. It's $20,000 a month. And you say, I can get all my needs met for $20,000 a month. What I do with the other 80 should not concern you unless it betrays some kind of core value, right? So if someone's using drugs or gambling, or they're investing in companies that you morally disagree with, there's conversations for that. But otherwise, if I like to eat very expensive steaks and I'm making the money and you're provided for and you don't care, that could work. It doesn't have to be it. The part of the email that stands out to me is I thought we were being conservative with money, or we were being strapped. So that tells me that, you know, you aren't getting all your needs paid for. The real issue isn't that he necessarily lent his brother $40,000. It's that he lent his brother $40,000 while he's telling you, hey, don't go get that massage. Don't go get that extra purse. Or, hey, let's eat pasta for a little bit instead of getting, more protein in our diets. And that is unfair, right? So if someone's able to lend an exorbitant amount of money to their relative and they're telling you to tighten the purse strings, and there's no conversation about why that's happening, plus in addition to the 40,000 you've been helping him out for many months, if the reason that your life is directly affected in a negative way is because he's doing something behind your back, yes, that is a problem. If you guys had plenty of money, no problem necessarily. Not necessarily. Really depends on how it's structured. Now, when you say it's your money together collectively, does that mean that you take that view because you're married or because you both contribute? Both are valid, by the way. I don't want to say that, if you stay at home and take care of the kids in the house, that you're not entitled to money. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you work and you contribute finances and he's taking the finances out, almost everybody would agree that's in a way it's more egregious, right? Because now there's actual theft as opposed to, well, it's communal property, so there's a big issue there. So if you're actually working and he's taking money from a joint account to a brother, that is never okay, right? Without telling you, that's never okay. It just isn't. Um, it doesn't sound like it. I have to read into a lot of these emails, and I summarize a lot of them, by the way. I mean, obviously you wrote me more, and I had to kind of get it into a paragraph, but it's, I didn't see anything in there that was so clear cut, but that could be a big issue as well. Now, the other thing I'll tell you about this tightening, of your own lifestyle versus how he's helping his brother, that's very problematic, right? So if he has this tendency to roll over, to be a people pleaser for everyone outside of the marriage, because that's what's typical, right? If you marry a people pleaser, what happens over time, and this might strike a much bigger chord with you, by the way, is you see them people pleasing early on in the relationship for you. Whatever you want, it's fine, and life rolls off my back. After you get married, you fuse into one unit. And the way that they interact with the other people closest to them, their boss, their family, and their close friends, you become part of them. And so there's an assumption that on a subconscious level, you're going to let things roll off your back as well. But that rarely happens. It's rare that I find two people pleasers marrying each other. Usually it's one person who's insistent, maybe even a little selfish and aggressive with certain things that they want and they fight for, very good at holding boundaries. And then on the other hand, you have the person who says, it's fine, don't worry about it, right? So a very common financial example of where you see this dynamic is where people give gifts. So if you're the kind of person who goes to weddings and sweet 16s and big birthdays or bar mitzvahs or whatever, and you're used to writing checks for gifts, and that a lot of cultures you just write a check instead of giving an actual gift. And if you find that you're giving larger amounts, and then one day you're having a party for yourselves or for one of your kids, and everybody's giving you back less than what you gave, there's the big red flag that you're with the person who's like, whatever, it's fine. And they don't get mad, especially if they get mad, different, right? But if you're giving $100 checks and then people come and they give you $20, again, it depends on where you are socioeconomically, but just go with me here. If you're getting back half or a fifth of what you're used to giving, it's like, you should be a little upset, right? There's a certain especially if they can afford it, there's a certain amount of reciprocity that's kind of expected. And if the person's like, it's fine, don't worry about it, that's a people pleaser. And that really affects the financial, reality of your relationship. So that's an example of how it comes up. So there's a few questions here when you're hearing something like this, like my husband's helping support my family against my will, without my knowledge. Big questions, right? One, do you have enough to actually afford it? From the sound of your letter where you're trying to tighten up, no, necessarily. Not really, right? Unless he's being miserly with you and generous with everybody else. Bigger problem. Two, is he a people pleaser? Is he doing it because he just doesn't know how to say no? If that's the case, you really have to talk broader than finances to get his attention. You have to be able to say, you're this way with all boundaries, and get him to wake up so that he can really re-examine his own way of walking through life. And the third is, are you really on the same page with finances in general? Does he spend on things that you don't agree with? Do you spend on things that are causing resentment for him? Finances in a relationship are only complicated when there's a values difference. I've seen couples who have literally hundreds of millions of dollars and still fight about money. And I've seen couples who are broke and in debt, and it's never a topic of discussion because they're on the same page. They both view debt the same way. They both view expenses the same way. They both view luxury spending the same way. And they both view saving the same way. Even though they don't have it, they both say, like, as soon as we get $1,000, we've agreed we're going to pay off this debt or this credit card or this part of the car. And they go, yeah. And I said, and you're both in agreement? They go, yeah, absolutely. Of course, that's where it goes. And if you had an extra $10,000 today, what would you do? Oh, we'd go to Hawaii. And yes, absolutely. I mean, whatever. They're always on the same page. It's a values issue, right? If you have one parent who says, I want my kids to go to private school, and another parent that says, I think it's a waste of money, Even if the money is there and you guys can afford it, that is a problem. So do you have a values problem in the way you view money? Those are the three issues, right? So I hope that was helpful. If you want to leave a question for me to answer on an episode just like this, there are instructions in the description below. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.